When I was a teenager, I loved church, and I went as much as I could. A lot of my friends really didn't understand that about me, but I just had to be there. If it was a Sunday morning service or Wednesday night service, youth service, outreach, summer camp, sign me up. I had to be there. There was nothing more important than being there. And I think it's just ultimately, I loved the preaching and teaching. It was inspiring to me, and the music was uplifting, and it was something I loved. And as I grew as a musician, it just became very powerful to me. One of the things that was kind of interesting growing up is my definition of the word worship. And, when I was a teenager, really worship meant one thing. It meant you were kind of in this room together with a bunch of people, and there's a song going on, and you're singing to the top of your lungs, or you're lifting your hands. You feel super excited and happy, and ultimately you feel connected to God and these people, and that's worship. When I was younger, that was it. It's like, we're going after that. We're going to chase that. We're going to keep chasing that feeling and that moment of worship in a room. But, as I got older, that really changed for me. The idea of worship, the definitions of worship, what it meant to me. And, I'll never forget God kind of knocking on my heart's door a few years ago and saying, Bryce, I want you to define worship in your life. I want you to be able to worship me with a clear conscience, knowing that you understand this and that you've defined it well in your life. And so, I went on this journey, and I wish, I had started maybe at the Bible or maybe in prayer, but I didn't. I went straight to the dictionary, to Webster's dictionary, and I looked up the word worship. This is what it says. It says, worship as a verb means to honor or respect someone or something as a god. To show respect and love for God or for a God, especially by praying or having religious services, or to love or honor someone or something very much or too much. And when I first read that, I thought, yeah, I got it. I agree with all of that stuff. All of those things are worship. And after a couple of days, it really just kept gnawing at me, and I just really didn't feel comfortable with those definitions. I didn't feel like that was what God was trying to speak to me. And I've got this job as a worship leader. I've got this job leading worship services, and all of a sudden I can't truly define what the word worship even means. And a really, really smart friend of mine came to me and said, hey, why don't you look it up in the Bible and see if the Bible defines worship for you. And I thought, what, that's a great idea. I think I'll do that. I remember I read tons and tons of passages that had the word worship in it. Matter of fact, they're in the King James Version. There were around like 200 passages using the word worship or worshiper or worshipers. And, I read all of it. I read every one that I could get my hands on. And the biggest thing that I was so shocked by was that there were very few passages involving the word worship that mentioned anything about music or singing. And I remember I just kind of started scratching my head and going, okay, now why is it that every time I've ever heard the word worship, people always associate it with music? And and I'm looking here in the Bible, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of music and worship together. I'm seeing a lot of people bowing down. I'm seeing a lot of people sacrificing things and sacrificing themselves to, the things they want in life for God. But I'm not really seeing a whole lot of music. And I just, that question just kept haunting me and just really frustrating me, honestly. And I came across one passage, and I tell you what, this passage has become my life passage. When God spoke to me, He knew what He was doing. He knew that He was putting not just a definition inside of me, but He was giving me something I could live by. Let me read you this text. It's in Romans 12, 1 and 2. And this is worship. This is the definition of worship. If you've ever wondered, maybe you haven't, but maybe at this camp you will. You'll start wondering, what is worship? And, if the first thing that comes to your mind is music, maybe you need to go back and check the Bible again. And I'd say start with this passage in Romans 12, 1 and 2. And it says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind He will find acceptable." And listen to this. This is truly the way to worship Him. I mean, seriously, how much clearer can it get? This is how you worship Him. Read the first couple of parts of this text, and that's what it means to worship. To view God's grace, to be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind that He will find acceptable. That is what it means to worship. So, I just wanted to challenge you. If you're, going to this camp, if you're getting ready to come into these song services and you're looking at them like, I'm going to just get super pumped. I'm going to get super excited about these songs and we're all going to sing together. We're going to have a blast. We're going to worship the Lord. I want you to ask yourself, does your worship involve sacrifice? Does it involve you laying down your life like a living, holy sacrifice? And if not, it's probably not worship. So anyway, I'm super excited about being a part of this camp with you guys, and I really am excited about discovering worship with you. And I think that we're going to have a blast together. I think we're going to discover God and really get to know each other really well. And I just cannot wait for Beach Camp 2015. So I'll see you later.